On April 26, Kazakhstan citizens will elect their president. The Central Election Commission has approved the plan for a presidential election and reported that the election campaign expenses will be optimized. Parliamentary elections in Tajikistan. Will the candidates for the seats in the lower house of parliament be able to get ahead of the representatives of the ruling party? Support the national economy, buy a local product. A campaign to promote domestic products on the markets is gaining momentum. Assembly of People of Kazakhstan. The history of 2 decades formation of Kazakhstan's model of interethnic tolerance is described in 2 newly published books. The undefeatable Triple G, the world-famous Kazakh boxer, has defended the champion's title and beat Mike Tyson's record of 19 straight KOs.
Good evening, I'm Rahim Ashakbayev, and this is Kazakhstan Weekly, where we summarize the major local and international news of the past week. Our tonight's guest is a known public figure, Ali Akhmetov. Mr. Akhmetov, I'm glad to see you.
Good evening.
On Tuesday, Nursultan Nazarbayev signed a decree to hold presidential election on April 26. A day earlier, he delivered a speech addressing the people in which he announced about the decision to hold presidential election in 2015. It's still unknown whether President Nazarbayev himself will participate in the upcoming elections. He promised to announce his decision later.
President Nursultan Nazarbayev held consultations in accord with the chairman of houses of the parliament, with the prime minister and the chairman of the constitutional court before signing the decree to hold the elections in 2015. The president has repeatedly noted that the entire election campaign must strictly comply with the requirements of the constitution. In an address to the people, which was broadcast by all major TV channels, Nazarbayev stressed that presidential and parliamentary elections both were scheduled to be held in 2016, which was not allowed by the constitution. In this regard, it was suggested to hold early presidential elections or a referendum to extend the powers of the president. Nursultan Nazarbayev decided that the right decision would be holding the elections which would meet constitutional requirements. According to the law, elections appointed by the president should be held within 2 months. During this time, the Central and Territorial Election Commissions, the government, and the local authorities should take all measures for organizational, logistical, and financial support of the election campaign. Literally, on the day of promulgation of the decree on appointment of the elections, the Central Election Committee approved and announced a plan for early presidential elections. According to the plan, the nomination of presidential candidates will begin on February 26 and will end on March 15. Then, after the registration of all candidates, the CEC will start the electoral campaigns. These campaigns will take place from March 26 to April 24. Any Kazakh citizen by birth, younger than 40 years old, fluent in the state language, and who has lived in the country in the past 15 years can qualify for the post of the head of state. The President of the Republic of Kazakhstan has the exclusive right to unilaterally appoint early presidential election. The Constitution of the Republic of Kazakhstan does not stipulate any conditions and restrictions in case if the head of state decides to carry out early presidential election in Kazakhstan. When deciding on the appointment of such election, one important regulation must be taken into account, which prohibits holding the presidential and parliamentary elections at the same time. Considering the interest of the people and their request, I made a decision abiding by the basic law, and in accordance with the Constitution, I signed a decree on the assignment of an early presidential election on April 26, 2015. For Kazakhstan, the elections were always a higher mechanism of unity and harmony in society. I am convinced that it is the case for now, and it will always be. Election is the most important constitutional patriotic act. It should be held in strict accordance with the law, openly and honestly, with the broad participation of domestic and international observers. I will make a decision later about my participation in the upcoming elections, in accordance with the Constitution and laws of our country.
Mr. Akhmetov, there are numerous talks about consolidating role of the forthcoming elections. So what do you think about it?
Yes, the upcoming elections will consolidate the society in Kazakhstan. There are many reasons. Because according to the Constitution, 2 election campaigns within 1 year is not permitted by the Constitution. This is the main reason. And on the other hand, a lot of initiatives came from the people and from the Assembly of Peoples of Kazakhstan to hold presidential election this year, in the current year. I think there is logic. If we hold the presidential election this year, it will be, for example, easier to hold another elections the next year. And by constitution, this is quite normal. That's why, and on the, as far as the consolidation role of the election, I would say, if you remember, for example, after the proposal of the Assembly of Peoples of Kazakhstan to hold the presidential election this year, all the leaders of the political parties supported this idea. Not only the leaders of the parties, but also the leaders of the NGOs and scientists, youth, and both chambers of the parliament supported this idea. That's why I think this idea is supported and by the president, by the Constitutional Commission, and the elections already is on the agenda. It will be held on the 26th of April, and we have 2 months. Now candidates for the presidency will be, I think, chosen and promoted, and there is enough time to hold this election in comply with the constitution of the country.
2 months are remaining until the presidential election in Kazakhstan, while elections in another Central Asian countries have already begun. March the 1st is the day of elections for the lower house of Tajikistan's parliament. They involved all 8 officially registered political parties. A record number of international observers, 525 people, came to monitor the election process. Let's watch the electoral preparations in our next news story.
The elections to the national parliament and local legislatures are due Sunday, March the 1st. 288 candidates nominated for 63 seats in the lower house of parliament. According to the official data of the Central Election Commission of Tajikistan, political parties nominated 103 candidates on single electoral constituency, 185 candidates registered in the single-seat districts, 80 of which were self-nominated. According to the law, 22 members of the Tajik parliament are elected on party lists, the other 41 in single-member constituencies. Most of the bulletins were printed in the Tajik language and had been received in the polls 2 days before the election. Especially for the Russians, Uzbeks, and Kyrgyz residents, the bulletins were made in their native languages. More than 500 international observers will follow the course of the election campaign. Experts from the Arab countries have arrived for the first time, in particular the representatives of the Embassy of Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Iran, and Afghanistan. The OSCE Office for Democratic Institutions and Human Rights long-term mission has monitored pre-election situation in Tajikistan. 30 experts that were spread in different regions checked the voters list, election precincts, and cabins. They observed whether the rights of candidates have not been violated, the timing given to TV and radio rotations, and how many newspaper columns and lines have been devoted to their election programs. Tajiks living abroad will also have the right to vote. Polling stations will be opened in Russia, Turkey, and Germany. Elections for the upper house of parliament, the Majlis-i Milli, will be held on March 27, 2015. Unlike the elections to the lower house, they are indirect.
So, Mr. Akhmetov, we know that in the lower house of the Tajikistan's parliament, the majority belongs to the ruling party. So, in your opinion, is there any prerequisites telling whether these elections will change the situation?
First of all, we should underline that the coming election, which is going to start tomorrow, is multi-party election, because there are 8 political parties in Tajikistan, and all of them will participate in the election. And this election, I think, will be held in comply with the constitution of this country. And Tajikistan is our neighboring country and a very strategic country, I would say, from the point of view of Afghanistan. because this year coalition army is leaving Afghanistan, and the Taliban is very active. And from the point of security issue, Tajikistan is very, very important, because the peace in Tajikistan will play a good role in the whole Central Asian area. And on the other hand, Tajikistan is a member of the OSCE, and also Tajikistan is a member of the UN, and also our friendly neighbor. And that's why we should, I should say that we should support the elections which are being which will be held tomorrow in this country, both in the lower chamber and the upper chamber. And I think if the elections are successful, this is good for Tajikistan, and it is also good for the Central Asian area as a whole, from the point of view of security in this area, taking account the situation in Afghanistan.
Never before was there so much attention to Kazakhstan's domestic production as during the last month of this winter. The president personally urged to buy domestic products and thus to support local enterprises at the extended session of the government on February 11. A unified logo was developed for products labeled Made in Kazakhstan. The departments for local goods only opened in country's major supermarkets. Regional governors and mayors, as well as known in the country artists and athletes, buy domestic products personally. A special Made in Kazakhstan campaign was launched. We have a story on what is produced in Kazakhstan and to which extent the domestic goods are in demand on local markets.
The shop of domestic children's clothing, which is made of cotton, opened in Pavlodar. Pavlodar seamstresses plan to produce clothing for teens as well. The socks knitting factory, which works with environmentally friendly raw materials, produces up to 100 pairs of socks per day in Semey. In addition, the company has been producing uniforms for law enforcement officers. Production of household chemistry was established as well. A company called Kazakh in Pavlodar produces more than 150 different kinds of detergents and cleaning products, shampoos and conditioners. In one shift, the company produces up to 20 tons. More than 100 million tenge was invested in the project. 40 people got permanent jobs. A significant number of domestic companies supplies materials for construction sites. Polyethylene pipes with diameters from 20 to 1,200 millimeters are produced on the 4 innovative technological lines of the plant in Petropavlovsk. Despite the global economic crisis, the company operates safely and efficiently. In total, goods worth 200 million tenge were produced since the beginning of this year. The demand for high-quality silica brick produced at the plant in Kandyagash in the Aktobe region has increased. Schools and kindergartens are built from the type of this brick now. From 200 to 300 square meters of housing are built in a year under the Affordable Housing State Program. A lot of products are manufactured in this country. More than 10 types of fast food porridges are made from cereals, legumes, and flax seeds in Rudny in the Kostanay region. Seeds are grown on 5,000-hectare fields. The production line capacity is 350 kilograms per hour. In the near future, it is planned to start manufacturing products enriched by vegetable protein. Zhitikara area began to produce goat milk in bottles. Goats give from 1 to 5 liters of milk daily. The product is even good for infants. By the summer, Kostanay manufacturers intend to expand the range of products. Yogurt and cottage cheese will be added to the dairy production. Halva without any preservatives is produced in Taraz today. All ingredients are local, including the syrup, sugar produced from the beetroots in Taraz, and sunflower from the neighboring areas. The government pledges its support to the domestic producers. On February the 20th, the Investment and Development Minister Aseti Sikashev noted that 35 billion tenge has been allocated to support Kazakhstan exporters by the order of the head of state. These funds will be used to promote products labeled Made in Kazakhstan abroad. In particular, the export will be redirected to the markets in Central Asia, the Caucasus, Mongolia, Afghanistan, and Iran, where there is a demand for such products. This product group includes ferroalloys, bearings, copper wire, metal products, and electricity transformers, articles for cement, aluminum, and food. Now the Kazakh delegation is negotiating with Iran, and in March it will visit Ukraine, Mongolia, and Turkmenistan.
So, Mr. Akhmetov, do you think the government undertakes enough measures today to support domestic production?
I would say yes. And on the other hand, it's high time that Kazakhstan should establish its own national brand. Why I'm saying so? Because now Kazakhstan doesn't only depend on the mineral resources or on the export of mineral resources. Manufacturing sector is growing and prevailing, and the first 5-year plan of innovative industrial programs completed. Now the second 5-year plan has started, and the manufacturing sector is growing from year to year. And on the other hand, if we take into account the territory of Kazakhstan, vast territory of Kazakhstan, Kazakhstan should supply its own population with the local products. I mean the food products, because our products are ecologically or environmentally very clean, and this must be advertised, and the local content should be on the agenda. And if we advertise our local products, it will bring a lot of revenues to the economy and to the small and average business of Kazakhstan. And on the other hand, last time we discussed that Kazakhstan is going to widen its export area not only to the north but to the south, making use of taking advantage of the railway which was built already, completed towards Iran through Turkmenistan towards Persian Gulf countries. That's why we can export our metallurgical for example, goods. Also food products, wheat for example, not only wheat but flour. Our wheat is has very high quality, and that's why not only wheat, we can also export batteries, we can also export, for example, cables, I mean copper, for example, wires, and very many other items, chemicals, fertilizers, and so on and so forth. That's why I think this is a good start. The president has given a good start to create our national brand, made in Kazakhstan. It's high time.
Absolutely. And let's also mention why this campaign made in Kazakhstan and to support the local production is so relevant for this moment.
Absolutely.
Because of the devaluation of the ruble in Russia.
Ruble in Russia, and taking account the whole economic crisis in the world. That's why it's for the sake of the development of our economy.
So Russian producers benefited from the weak ruble.
Everybody,
so they inviting.
Everybody benefits because our especially food products are very clean, very safe from environmental point of view. Especially, for example, in some of the regions of Kazakhstan, we produce goat's milk, dairy products, for example, made of goat's milk. It will substitute for mother's milk, you see.
Do you instructed your family to buy Kazakh products?
Absolutely. We always look for our local products because they are they have very good quality and very tasty, and that's why I invite our citizens to buy only our products, local products.
What events preceded and contributed to the creation of the People's Assembly of Kazakhstan, and what is its historical significance? The authors of 2 books that were published to mark the year of the Assembly had presented their story regarding the unique socio-political institution.
This week, the National Academic Library in Astana held a presentation of 2 books titled People's Assembly of Kazakhstan in the History of the Country and People's Assembly of Kazakhstan, the History of 2 Decades. The first book contains interviews of prominent political and cultural figures, athletes, diplomats, and representatives of the Kazakh diaspora living abroad. The second book reveals the stages of institutions' formation and valuable elements of national unity and tolerance of the Kazakh people. The works clearly demonstrate that Kazakhstan People's Assembly, initiated by the first president Nursultan Nazarbayev, is a real and unique mechanism of state's ethnic policy, which provides a qualitatively new level of institute for national representation. The team of authors believes that the released books will be useful primarily for scientists, state officials, and experts. As it was reported before, a variety of activities will be held to mark the year of the People's Assembly of Kazakhstan throughout the year across the country. And by the end of 2015, on December 1st, the results of the year will be announced at the Forum of the People of Kazakhstan. The year of People's Assembly will be accompanied by important events such as the 20th anniversary of the Constitution, the 550th anniversary of the Kazakh Khanate, and the 70th anniversary of victory in World War II. Therefore, this year should become a vivid demonstration of the unity of the people, forever united by a common historical destiny. We are expecting an increasing interest in everything that is connected with the history and future of the People's Assembly of Kazakhstan. The team of authors were inspired by the idea to colorfully demonstrate the dynamics of interethnic relations development in Kazakhstan and draw a parallel between the past, the present, and the future days. We've found the middle ground to present archival evidence, the speech of the chairman of the People's Assembly of Kazakhstan and the president of our country, Nursultan Nazarbayev, in a single edition, and relate it to the memories which acquire very vivid shades among the interviewees.
So, Mr. Khmetov, I know that you have participated in the presentation of these two books. What is your impressions?
Yes, I have participated when these two books were presented in the National Library of Kazakhstan in Astana. And first of all, we should underline People's Assembly of Kazakhstan has been created by the president. And in this connection, we should also underline one more fact. At the end of the last century, do you remember the situation in Yugoslavia? Yugoslavia was broken into pieces, and it was not the reason. The reason was not within the country. The reason came from the outside of the country, and in connection with this, some of the prophets, in inverted commas, or some politicians from outside of Kazakhstan predicted that the next point of interethnic clash will be Kazakhstan. I'm not naming all those scientists and those politicians and prophets in inverted commas, and everybody knows about those prophets. And the president initiated People's Assembly of Kazakhstan. Now 20 years have elapsed, and this institute has become very strong organization within the country. It is the cornerstone of internal policy of Kazakhstan, not only internal policy but also foreign policy. And it is, I would say, People's Assembly of Kazakhstan is our national brand, because interethnic clashes are happening all over the world. Take, for example, Ukraine. Take, for example, European countries, Arabic countries. Interethnic clashes, interreligious clashes are happening. And from this point of view, the People's Assembly of Kazakhstan plays a very paramount, important role in Kazakhstan. Not only in Kazakhstan, it influences other countries. Last time I also repeated, for example, the former General Secretary Kofi Annan, UN General Secretary Kofi Annan, when he visited Kazakhstan, he declared that People's Assembly of Kazakhstan is a kind of UN created within one country. You see, other countries should follow this model. As you remember, for example, in European countries, multiculturalism was cultivated, but now this movement has come to a stop. And very many countries come to Kazakhstan to study to share with our experience, because Kazakhstan is a very multinational country. 140 ethnicities live in Kazakhstan, and as the assembly unites all the ethnicities in Kazakhstan, everybody is equal. And besides that, the concepts of the Assembly of Kazakhstan coincide with the concepts of the Constitution of Kazakhstan. Also, it complies with the United Nations organizations concepts. That's why it's a very unique model. And this is because of the solidarity of the people who live in Kazakhstan. Everybody supports the unity and friendship and tolerance in Kazakhstan. And it is based on our national values. National values. That's why I think these two books reflect the history of development of this institute. And one of the books is based on the interviews of outstanding statesmen and business people, sportsmen, and so on and so forth. And the other monograph is devoted to the history and development of this organization, institute. I think I took part in the meeting, in the presentation of the book, and it was well accepted. And I made a proposal that both books are published in 3 languages, in Kazakh, Russian, and English. And I recommended that these books, these monographs, should be placed in the internet so that everybody could get acquainted with it, not only within Kazakhstan, but outside of Kazakhstan.
The Kazakh professional boxer Gennady Golovkin stopped Britain's Martin Murray in Monte Carlo February 21st. The middleweight favorite of both the Kazakh and foreign audiences for the first time in his career had an 11-round bout. Before facing Murray, his longest fight lasted 10 rounds. This time, as usual, Golovkin was merciless and forced the referee to stop the beating as the Brit sank down in the 11th round.
The Kazakh boxer has earned his 32nd victory in his career and the 29th by knockout. Gennady has defended his world title for the 13th time and confirmed the status of an interim WBC champion, which he stripped from Marco Antonio Rubio in October 2014. Kazakh fans that actively support the Karaganda boxer attended the bout to pledge their support to Golovkin. Traditionally, President Nursultan Nazarbayev has personally congratulated the Kazakh athlete. The head of state has sent a telegram to Gennady in which he noted that Golovkin's victory over Murray is the result of his dedication, tireless work, and excellent skills. Also, the Kazakh president added that fights with Golovkin's participation bring glory to national sports. In response, Golovkin has sent a letter of gratitude to the head of state in which he emphasized that the support of the president and all Kazakhstanis strengthens his will to win. Prince Albert of Monaco, being a well-known supporter of world champion Gennady Golovkin, had congratulated the boxer immediately after the fight. He was a very serious and a strong opponent. I respect him. It was a great honor. I thank him for the fight. He's strong and tough. He's on another level compared to other world middleweight champions. I did my best, but it was not enough. Gennady is a great champion, a great fighter. Gennady Golovkin is a true champion and an example for other boxers. He is currently the world's best boxer in his weight division.
So, Mr. Akhmetov, it's great that our competitors are now entering the world elite in boxing. So, what do you think should be done to keep this going?
First of all, I should underline, I didn't miss Gennady's, for example, fights with his competitors during the last 3 years. And he always won his competitors. Not only won, but he knocked out always. All the time he knocked out. And this match lasted until the 11th round, I think. I enjoyed it because in Monte Carlo, for example, not only Kazakhstani citizens, but the viewers, about millions of viewers all over the world, enjoyed it. Because sports viewers like when the match lasts for a long time. they would like to enjoy how to see every detail of and the strength of the boxer. And Gennady, for example, showed all his strength, all his tactics and strategy, and he knocked out his competitor in the 11th round. And of course, Gennady is our also national brand. He is like Tyson, for example. And very many young boxers follow his examples. And I should underline that boxing is very popular in Kazakhstan, and this sport is developing very, very strongly in Kazakhstan.
And what should be done to keep this trend going?
Of course, we should create our facilities in all the cities, not only in Astana and Almaty, but also in all the regional centers. And these sports facilities should train young boxers, not only this sport, but other sports too. And by the way, Kazakhstan is getting prepared for the Students' Olympiad, for example, Winter Olympiad. And also Kazakhstan is aspiring to hold Olympic Games, for example, Winter Olympic Games in 2022, I think. And today I looked through the mass media, through internet, and I read very interesting fact. For example, China is our competitor, and snow is very, very small in China. You see, and Kazakhstan has a very good chance to win the bid. And in Almaty, I think perhaps the Winter Olympic Games will come to Kazakhstan. See?
Hope so.
It's a good news.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you very much for being with us tonight. Thank you for the comments. Hope to see you next week in our program.
Thank you.
Finally, here is a brief preview of the events of the coming week. On Monday, March 2nd, Brussels will host the meeting of Kazakhstan-EU Cooperation Council. On the same day, the 28th session of the UN Human Rights Council kicks off in Geneva. The Kazakh delegation will participate in the high-level segment of UN Conference on Nuclear Disarmament at the same place in Geneva on March 4th. We will discuss this and other important events in our next program. Thank you for watching. Best of luck and goodbye.